Hello, Herd, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Herder. I'm J-Dub,
I am Boop.
and we are here living in a post-No Way Home world.
My life is different now.
Everyone is different, hopefully for the better for that. But we're not here to talk about Spider-Man this week,
Not yet.
although that's a plug. That is a segue. That is uh, a tease of what's to come next week over with our Nerdiverse series.
It's a very good tease.
Yeah, it's so impromptu also. Totally unplanned. But much like everything about this podcast. But we do have some things planned, like next week's episode where we talk about the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, maybe. I don't know. Lots of feelings. We just, the other day, watched it, so it's like all very fresh. So I feel like I would talk about nothing but No Way Home right now.
I agree.
But I don't know if a week will change that. So I'm kind of giving myself time to calm down and see if we're actually going to talk about a trilogy next week or just one film, best film.
I don't think I will calm down.
No, I don't.
My parents have been waiting for me to calm down for years.
The Ritalin didn't help.
No.
But anyway, so yeah, if you want to weigh in, hit us up. If you want to get that in your ears, check it out next week. In the new year, we'll be talking about the MCU Spider-Man trilogy. But we're actually finishing a trilogy today, a trilogy of trilogies, really, because we're talking about everything we enjoy. Well, not everything. We can't fit that in an episode. I was very proud of us. We fit a lot in last week's episode about The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Or the last episode we did, I should say, not last week's. But yeah, we fit a lot in that. That being, I think, now well established as one of our favorite Star Wars. I can definitively say second favorite Star Wars.
Oh, no, I fully agree.
And so, but we miraculously pulled it in at about an hour of conversation, although that was, of course, with trimming down what we discussed. But nonetheless, we did it, and I think this week's going to be no less of a challenge to keep it in at an hour, just because I think it's been clear we enjoy these movies.
Absolutely.
We enjoy every Star Wars, and even the ones that are by many public and popular accounts lesser than, we find something to like. Even the holiday special has something good about it, I promise you, and it's called Boba Fett. Goodness gracious, we're joining the world and celebrating this, dented, helmeted man.
Yeah.
He's got his own show now and everything. That would not have happened.
Were it not for the holiday special.
Every legend has to start somewhere, and he started in a horrible movie, but look where he has come. So much better now, and also, what's that one Golden Girl?
B.
That's in it.
Arthur.
Yeah, B. Arthur is in it as an amazing bartender, a
Yes.
canon bartender, I might remind.
A canonically
Canonically
queer.
lesbian.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we assume because she has a wife, she's lesbian, but
Yeah.
that would still be assuming because
Well, that's why I say queer.
That's
queer is
fair.
kind of a catch-all.
But I feel I often wonder sometimes if people like necessarily getting all of it lumped. I understand some people are very passionate about their particular
Yeah.
label and whatnot.
And that's perfectly fine.
I yeah, it's a two-way street of both and everything. But anyway, so yeah, even the holiday special has something good to like it about it, and therefore, even if The Rise of Skywalker is not your favorite, I guarantee there's something to like about it in there for you, and maybe it'll be one of the things we talk about. If you're unfamiliar, which I doubt it, because only the same like 20 people listen to the podcast. But
hey,
if you are unfamiliar with the format,
up,
we literally just talk about our favorite things about the movies. Unless you tuned in last time when we did talk about the Last Jedi, we needed some guide rails to get through the conversation. But that was a one-time only kind of thing. Although I will be adapting part of that to begin the episode. But by and large, we just come into this for conversation about the things we enjoy, hopefully to resonate with someone listening, maybe to help someone listening who doesn't agree or doesn't like the same things.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just background noise and you're not really paying attention, in which case that's fine because that counts on our stats. So we'll take it.
Should we like throw in some subliminal messages?
Right. You want to buy more eggnog.
Buy more eggnog.
Buy
Kill
more
your
eggnog.
parents.
No, that's not.
Don't
No,
kill your
don't.
parents.
Yes.
Subscribe.
So yeah, so that's what we do here, and we did put out a poll. Well, not so much a poll, but a request for input, and hopefully you put in, and in
We
which
got
case
some
we
good
will
input.
kind of speed through some of those later on. But you can still feel free to add to that now. If you can't find the original tweet, you can just add us. Social media is a two-way street. You can communicate with us. I don't know
Yeah.
why people don't realize that all the time.
DM
If you
us.
have something to say
Send us a letter.
and it's nice, say it. But don't say the mean stuff because I can't handle much more pressure in this year.
And you know what?
2021
You
sucks.
say something mean, I'm coming for you.
Right.
Tiny
She's
fists of
feral.
fury.
So The Rise of Skywalker. Before really jumping in with anything specific, one thing I liked that we did last time was opened up with why we kind of like it overall, because a lot of times we jump right in on specific things, which is very easy because there's a lot of high points in a lot of these films. Um, but just in a general sense, um, what makes you like, love, enjoy The Rise of Skywalker?
I think the reason that I love it so much is because of the focus, like A New Hope. Um, the main plot is a story of redemption and hope.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a wonderful bookend to a series about love and family and hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's such a good encapsulation of all of the themes that we have come to love so much about these characters and, what they've gone through in these movies. But also, it's just so dang pretty to look at.
It is. I think that The Last Jedi in particular is one of the prettiest.
Yes.
Um, but I will say they definitely continued that eye for shooting scenes that were like just iconically staged and lit and beautifully colored. They figured out a formula, I think, with The Last Jedi that they're taking into a lot of not even just this film, but also like Disney Plus content that's come after, where they're more mindful of the shot. I
Yeah.
think like it's not just to get the shot, but it's also to get the best shot.
The
Not
camera
that,
is a character.
yeah, like not in the sense that any other film or Star Wars film has been poorly shot, but it's not that like the shot wasn't important like that. Like
Yeah.
when you're staging and setting up a scene, the camera was just going to catch everything, but it wasn't necessarily treated like you said, like a character, like a part of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be, and a lot of that also comes afterwards too. No modern film is completely done in front of camera
Yeah.
anymore. I don't care what they say, that even that puppet has something. So, but and that's okay. That like there's always been corrections in film and
Yeah.
things that come after to make it pretty, and it's okay for a film to be pretty.
Yeah, agreed. And you know what? It is very pretty.
It
And
is.
it's got some intense, very well done emotional moments. Like this is I'd say one of the most emotional Star Wars films overall.
Hmm.
It definitely made me cry at least 4 or 5 times.
I think it kind of has to be because, like you said, it encapsulates so much. It really encapsulates everything that's kind
Yeah.
of come before it. The Last Jedi started something that it was like, hey, let's be mindful to reach back. Let's
Mhm.
mention Sidious. Let's talk about the Jedi Order, not just the old Republic and before the Dark Times, but let's get real with details that came
Yes.
before. Like, let's honor and talk about that legacy. Um, Again, that continues very strongly here, and it has to because this is the end of all of that. You can't
Yes.
do this kind of a movie and not hit everything, and you can't do this kind of a movie, hit everything, and not miss some things for some people, and not do things in a way that's not according to expectations for other
Mhm.
people. It's a big mess for a lot of people. I get that, and I get why because it's so big.
It there's a lot of movie.
Yeah, I mean, because like you said, it's such a distill of everything. It's not just the same hero's journey over. It takes everything from the saga that it is a part of, and brings it into a single
Yeah.
film. And so it when you go big, you're bound to lose some people. You're bound to do things that take time to come around to,
Hmm.
and I definitely think this is one of those films that it's just about that. It's about giving it the space it needs to grow,
Yeah.
in the public eye and in the fandom and everything. And um, a lot of people have their legitimate reasons for not liking it, but I think there's also legitimate reasons to like it.
Agreed.
Um, and part of that is because it touches on so much that's
Yeah.
so important and such a pillar to Star Wars.
Exactly. And you know what? It's got some moments in it that are like the most Star Wars moments of any film, in my opinion.
Name one.
I am going to name a very specific one
Top
because
5 moments
it
of
is
Tross according to Boop. No, I'm just
no, I do not rank.
kidding.
I am firmly in the
You
no
rank pretty
ranking
high on
position.
my list, though.
Gross. Stop it. Get better standards.
Never.
Um, the moment that I think of when I think of Star Wars is the hug at the very end of the movie, between Rey, Poe, and Finn.
Hmm.
The amount of love and emotion that is in that moment, that is Star Wars to the nth degree for me,
Hmm.
because that is the culmination of found family, of, hope, fulfillment, and just everything I love about Star Wars, which is sharing it with other people.
Yeah, well, and again, yeah, because let's be honest, this film's about family,
Yeah,
found family, dealing with your actual family,
yeah,
friends that are more like family, like all of that, like these deep and meaningful relationships um, are central to Star Wars, but especially um, this film.
yeah. I mean, it's a movie and a trilogy about legacy. And I think this is a pretty darn good bow that it's wrapped up in.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we're talking about that you opened with is it pulls those things that are in every movie. Family has been a point in every movie. Literally, the original trilogy is built on the revelation that Darth Vader is the father of our hero,
Yeah,
right? We're going back in time and we're dealing with this idea of an adoptive family of sorts, right? Not that all adopted families are evil, but
I
you happen to get
mean,
adopted into a very uptight, culty family,
yeah,
and the kind of impacts that other people have on your choices. Like that's Anakin's whole journey, right? Like it's all in dealing with family and the relationships and how they form us,
yeah,
or hurt us. Um, and so, but in a completely positive sense, that ending, because like that's the more personal version of like the spaceship scene when everybody shows up and
yeah,
everybody jumps in. Like the personal story version of that is these three characters that represent all of that. Three
exactly.
characters that chose to jump in and do something and do the right thing. And so, and that's the thing is it's just like Star Wars is big. Star Wars is the fleet of just people, but it's also those
Yeah,
few friends. It doesn't always have to be thousands of followers, big, con gatherings. It can also be the same few people you Skype with or stream with or
hmm,
talk to. Star Wars is as much communal as it is personal,
agreed.
and I think this movie does that, and I think it does it well.
Yeah, big time.
And so, like I mentioned last time when we did this with the Last Jedi to keep our conversation concise, we I did a segment called "Some Say." We did the whole episode based on that. We took things that some fans or some not fans say
If
about the film.
I guess you could call them fans
They
on
call
a
themselves
technical
fans,
level. Yeah,
self-identifying fans,
there you go.
self-noted internet douchebags. Um, they say certain things,
And not in a fun way.
right? Like when you talk about The Last Jedi, when you talk about The Rise of Skywalker,
Yeah.
when you talk about The Phantom Menace, when you talk about any of these films, there's like the same 10 arguments for everyone that doesn't
Yeah.
like them, I think.
But Jar Jar Binks, John.
And don't let me invalidate that just because you have the same argument as Star Wars theory, that makes you as toxic as Star Wars theory.
No.
Like when you legitimately believe what you're saying and when you legitimately dislike what you dislike, I can't hold any of that against you because this is all fiction. It's all fake and in space. Why would I treat you any different or ostracize you for just having an opinion? But when the one of the biggest downsides of the internet, it's created this culture that doesn't need to form their own opinions. They Google their opinions.
Mm.
How should I feel about this based on what this YouTuber says? What should I do based on what this article says? Top 5 according to what Watch Mojo is what's my top 5, because it's easier to take what somebody
Watch
else
Mojo.
quote unquote thinks and regurgitate it than to actually be your own person and
Yeah.
do your own thing. There's a whole tirade. But when you have legitimate problems, and I guess I'll say that to say the door is open. If you have legitimate problems with this movie, if you have legitimate things that you dislike that we like, that's okay, and you can definitely talk to us about it. You can share that with us. We don't mind that.
No.
We just don't like living in negativity, and we don't like hollow opinions that are just regurgitated internet
Yeah.
opinions. And so we wanted to tackle that specifically with that segment last week. And I don't want to do the whole episode like that because I think that there's plenty to talk about that we like. I think, strange to say, I think this is actually less controversial than The Last Jedi.
I think for a lot of people.
And so I don't want to make the whole episode this, but there was one I wanted to deal with just because it starts the movie and I feel like it should start our conversation.
Okay. Do I
Here,
know what
17
this is?
minutes in. I don't know. Some say that Palpatine returned and it was ridiculous.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Was it what you thought it was?
It's close.
Oh, what'd you think it was?
Somehow.
Oh, well,
Palpatine returned. That's not a
I
bad
mean,
line.
well, not specifically the line. I think I guess I'm going after the entire concept of Palpatine returning at all and the issue that some people take with it.
Look, dude. It's fake in space, for one thing, but also, this is a movie about the Skywalkers. Why wouldn't there be Granddaddy Palpatine, who is not confirmed to be Anakin Skywalker's father through the Force? But I think there's a decent case for
There'd
it.
be amazing irony if he did ultimately create his doom.
Yes.
There's part of me that would absolutely love that.
It's poetic cinema. Come
Right?
on,
It's
babe.
poetic.
It rhymes.
But yeah, I think that's one of the most persistent issues with this film. Um, I mean, just recently it came up again. I don't remember what sparked it, but there was big uh, conversation trending on Twitter about Palpatine and this line and just the overall concept of him returning and everything.
Somehow we're still having this argument.
Right, that's the real somehow. Um, I mean, I agree. I think it makes sense, and um, I don't think number one it's uncharacteristic of Star Wars to throw in a curveball.
Yeah,
I will give this. It was a surprise.
it was.
Um,
That moment at Celebration blew my freaking mind, and you can see it in the video.
yeah, because what we were thinking was just, oh, it's something in the edit. They're just, it's like those things. Like you'll hear lines in of dialogue in trailers. It doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean they're talking to that person. It's just exposition, right? Um, you know, when you think Star Wars and you think evil, of course Palpatine. You're gonna hear
Yeah.
some cackling, and that's meant to be the dark side, right? But yeah, when Ian came out himself,
Yeah.
that moment solidified. Holy crap! It's actually
It's
him. He's
Palpatine.
actually back, and that's the moment I think you're supposed to hang on to. Like,
Yeah.
trust me, we were spoiled. We were there,
Yeah.
and we don't say that to brag, but I really think that changed how I was going to see that forever
Yeah.
because being in that electric, energized room with
Mhm.
that reveal, like, how could I not be happy?
Exactly.
You
I
know?
agree fully.
And I think it's those moments that we hang on, like, think of the awe and the action and the fun
Mhm.
of, Palpatine returning. Don't think about the fact that it's kinda shoehorned in, like, I kind of agree with that.
I get that.
I know that in parts it was set up. Yeah, I'm a
Mhm.
nerd. I've read books and I get
You can read.
they've been teasing this stuff with the unknown regions for since Disney bought this really.
I like the onion regions
I
better.
verbal dyslexia,
I
man.
know.
Um I know something like this was always being set up.
Yeah.
I still know that it kind of rushed.
Mhm.
Like, I get that. Like, there's no mention of Palpatine in the old ways. It's just this, radicalized and legacy obsessed First Order regime. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden it turns out I get it. It's that kind of Scooby Doo ness of it was this person all along. But at the same time, number one,
Yeah.
it's a character as awesome as Palpatine. Number two, it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, even if it wasn't well set up.
Yeah. And see, like
You just want to continue the joke. Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
I've said it so many times before, but can we really be surprised that Palpatine's back in the trilogy because he is a man of
guys,
contentions.
this was such a good idea they did it twice. Like, if you
Exactly.
haven't read the Dark Empire comics, they did it worse.
You should read the Jedi Prince series too if you want to laugh.
Sure. I mean, it's not bad. It's wild and crazy, and there's a reason Legends is dead.
They want to go to Hologram
um,
Fun World to get married,
I
John.
just wish they didn't take Kukruk with them. But anyway,
Oh,
um, so yeah. But
yeah. Does he strike you as a man who dies?
who's that? Palpatine?
Yes.
Well, he's kind of that face of evil, right? Like I imagine Harry Potter walked away after Voldemort was vanquished and worried every day
Hmm.
that it wasn't going to be. This dude came back from the dead. Like it. Some characters and some people represent such an evil that we are always anxious is ever present and
Yeah.
looming. It makes sense that it would be in this case actual. He persisted as evil
Exactly.
does.
Nevertheless, Palpatine
Yeah.
persisted, and I love that you brought that up because it's like the Eye of Sauron
Hmm.
in its truest sense. Is that Sauron never really went anywhere? He was
Right.
always there. He just took a different form.
Yeah, and there's that idea in general with the Force, and I kind of subscribe to it in that,
Agreed.
light, dark, and balance are all going to take multiple forms throughout the legacy of the story, right?
Yeah.
And this, our light is Rey Palpatine choosing to be a Skywalker,
Agreed.
right? Like it's not that Luke was a bad light. It's not that Anakin's light was snuffed out. It's that she's this light for this legacy in this generation.
Agreed.
Palpatine just happens to be the same dang evil the whole time.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
And that's really the thing, right? So we call it the Skywalker saga, and I get that, and that's right, because of what that name and legacy represents, and that's what themes of the Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker deal with, right? That makes sense, but at the same time, when you think of that as a sort of epitome of light, you think of Palpatine as an epitome of evil,
Agreed.
and like you said, it only makes sense that who was going to be the evil to rise to the name Skywalker? Palpatine.
Exactly.
And
Same
so,
family line, if you
yeah,
want to get into it
right. Semantically,
semantically.
which I mean, and that's the thing too, is it's just like that, and that's what's so meaningful to Ray's story. And I think I think I've said before, but like I've always liked Ray. I've never had a problem with her
No.
as a character. Um, but she wasn't the lead for me. Like it was a Ben Solo story until the Rise of Skywalker, and
Yeah.
it is still for me. Trust me. Like I've always resonated far more with Ben as Kylo Ren than I did as Ray.
because
but
he
I liked
has
Rey.
so much edginess and Spencer's coupons.
Right.
Yes.
It's the same thing of just like when I watched the original films, I wanted to be cool like Han. I didn't want to be Luke.
Yeah.
Resonating and finding things I liked about Luke didn't come until much later, and even then, they weren't incredibly meaningful until The Last Jedi.
You want to make a good character, break them.
Right. Make them real.
Make them a bastard.
Make them relatable. And so, same way here, where it's just like I get Rey's the lead and she's the important one, but I'm over here with this character.
Mhm.
And this film did swap that a bit because of the direction her story went. It's not that like a lot had to be changed for me to like the character. Again, I always liked her,
Yeah.
but this made me like really relate to her and resonate with her.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. Like a lot of people don't see it that way when people say they like something or don't give a lot of context to why they like things. People just see it as choosing a side, and it's not that I'm choosing a side of liking the sequel trilogies, liking Disney, liking Rey.
Mhm.
It's just that Rey means something to me.
Agreed.
Much like all of these films, they have a level of personal importance. So no, you're not going to convince me to not like them, and no, you're not going to argue me out of liking Rey Skywalker, Rey's
Yeah.
journey.
I say confidently and without any apology, the sequel trilogy is my Star Wars. It is the most Star Wars that has resonated with me, other than the Clone Wars, but that's, it's my Star Wars
It's the
films.
big one. Like
Yeah.
all Star Wars is Star Wars, true, but the movies are kind of the pillars.
Yeah.
Like you kind of got to deal
That's
with that. Trust me, I like the animation too.
the sequel trilogy is my cornerstone. And I'm so glad that you brought up Rey Skywalker.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you talked about that with the Force Awakens episode, where I mean, because that was these films were happening as you were forming your relationship with Star Wars and everything, and
And my
so
relationship with you.
y- yes, I was there too, and so yeah, it makes sense that these would mean something completely different um, to you.
Yeah.
Like it. I really feel like, and that's what really I think is the point to Star Wars is like a lot of people make it out like, well, it's meant for kids, and
No.
I agree and disagree. I think it's made for people who are going through formative times,
Mhm.
and that just happens to be kids a lot of the time. But I mean, we've seen it. Opinions change because adults change. People go through things in life that completely changes them and the way they look at things and the way they process and feel about things. Sometimes that means liking a movie you didn't like as a kid. Sometimes that means coming around to something you didn't think about that way until this happened to you.
Yep.
And so, yes, while kids are literally steeped in formativeness, they're just molds waiting to be made, and that's exactly what George Lucas wants to get in to is like, hey, while you have choice, while you are choosing who you want to be for the rest of your life,
Mhm.
consider these things. Think about doing these things and not doing those things.
Yeah.
Making a good and proper choice, like Anakin did not. And
Exactly.
so, yeah, that's where he's targeting, but like that comes around many times in your life. You go through all kinds of things that change you and shape you and develop you. And I think if you don't, then you're not living. You're going through the matrix, but you're not actually living and experiencing and 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 doing life. And I think if you're doing life, you're going to go through formative experiences. And I think if you're doing that, you're going to find awesome and meaningful things like this silly little fictional universe that will matter
Mhm.
because they resonate, because they speak to you, because they kind of represent you sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why representation is important. That's why this idea of, found family, this idea of rejecting your nature in favor of your nurture is meaningful because it represents humanity.
Oh yeah. I love the I love so much the plot point of legacy in a negative sense. Because
I listen to sad music when I'm sad.
I know. Yeah, I do. I
A lot of people do. I
yeah.
don't. I don't know the science. If somebody knows the science, tell me. But don't because I don't want to ruin it.
Go to therapy.
Yeah.
I think it is so
Nega legacy.
Nega legacy.
You like negative legacy. Sorry.
The plot point of Nega legacy, yes.
Yes.
Something that I think a lot of us can agree with or relate to. But I think what makes it such a good freaking movie for that is the line of 1,000 generations live within you. You get to decide what to do with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you came from, be it, a Skywalker family of bastards that run around and shoot guns, or the Palpatine family that cackles maniacally.
Right.
You get to decide what you take. There are 2 wolves inside of you.
Yeah, kill one.
Kill both of them. You shouldn't have wolves inside of you.
Who let you in?
Who let the wolves in?
I'm allergic to dogs.
But yeah, like the point is
who? I'm sorry, I was so late for that joke.
It is. The point is making a decision. Like it was this movie and Shang-Chi who both hit the nail on the head of
yeah, very good point.
You get to decide who you are.
But
with what you were given.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing, and that you really stuck on and called out when we were watching Shang-Chi, and that's absolutely fundamental. You don't always get to choose what you're given, but you get to choose what you do with it.
Exactly. The lessons that you were taught, the nurture you were given in some cases, like you get to make a decision that's best for you.
Well, like, and that's again going back to like George Lucas's whole shtick. Like he's a one-trick pony, really. When you like, is he creative in how he does it? Yes, but he's got one mission, and it's to get you to understand you always have a choice.
Exactly. It's never too late for redemption.
I don't think it's my Twitter cover anymore. I don't know if I have it saved, but like it's literally the most important quote I think George Lucas has ever said. Yeah, okay. Like it distills everything. Huh? Oh gosh. But it just before I completely take the air out of this serious conversation, but yeah, it distills everything that, like I said, George Lucas is trying to do with this silly fiction. Like he recognizes that all of this is just a medium to help people be better. Like when you look at Star Wars too deeply, you miss the point. Like it's like when you try to like scientifically understand art and all this, like that's not the point. When you get so wrapped up in the art that you forget how it impacts you, you've ruined it.
Exactly.
When you get so caught up in Star Wars that you forget this is meant to enlighten you, this is meant to entertain you, this is meant to help you, this is meant to teach you.
If we could go back to the mirror scene in The Last Jedi, we are supposed to look in that mirror and decide.
Right. What are you going to... Exactly. And that's the thing. What are you going to do with this?
Does this matter?
Right.
Go for it, babe.
Oh my gosh. Hang on. Well, I gotta... Like poetry. It rhymes. Okay, I had to walk into it. Everybody has the choice of being the hero or not being the hero. Every day of their lives. Stephen, put that down. You can either help somebody, you can be compassionate towards people, you can treat some people with dignity, or not.
You sound like Dr. Evil and Lumpy Space Princess.
In one way, you become a hero, and in the other way, you're part of the problem.
Please send that to me.
I kept that on my Twitter forever. I've now changed it to the Star Wars Last Supper, but the point still stands of that. Like that's what he's trying to get, right? That's what he's trying to teach you in these formative moments of life, whether you're young or old or in between. He's trying to teach you that everybody has a choice.
Yes.
With what they're given. You don't get to choose to be given anything. You're given something, but you choose what you do with it. And you're either the hero or the villain. That's always been the point of Star Wars. And that's the point of The Rise of Skywalker is Rey choosing to be the hero despite everything she's been given that says otherwise. And so, yeah, that's meaningful and important. And that's big. That's Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't understand not liking it. I can understand not relating to it, but I can't understand not seeing how fundamentally Star Wars this Star Wars is.
Agreed.
And so yeah, I mean, it's going to be repetitive, but yeah, it bookends so well because it takes and does so well with the legacy that it's been given. The whole point.
And speaking of
Yeah.
legacy, we get the fulfillment of the line in The Force Awakens, I will finish what you started. And he does.
Yeah.
He does to the nth degree. Not what we were expecting.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good point to go into, like with the whole Ben Solo thing.
You sound so excited about your favorite character.
Yeah,
You're also
favorite of the
scrolling.
sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Well, I was pulling back up the original Rise of Skywalker tweet thread.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, going into the other fundamental character of especially this trilogy, but also this film, like we wrap up Ben's story.
Yeah. And
Unfortunately, a wrap up, in my opinion.
another one of the best Star Wars moments, in my opinion, is the hat trick.
The hat trick.
It's what I call it. It's Rey putting the saber behind her
Oh,
back and
yeah.
Ben pulling it out.
Which, I don't know how, number one, you could look at The Last Jedi and say that Ryan ruined what JJ gave him. And I don't see how you can look at The Rise of Skywalker and say that JJ ruined what Ryan gave him.
They're playing off each other, guys.
Here's the thing. I can understand being bitter about Ben's death. I'm not talking about that. But I mean,
you are bitter about Ben's death.
Literally, all of the Dyad stuff not only continues, but it enhances.
Exactly.
Actually, it's where we get the Dyad terminology, mythos introduced at all. Like, he takes something so integral to what worked in The Last Jedi, that whole relationship dynamic of theirs, and just dials it up. And what poetry that he's a Skywalker. I know he's Solo, but he is a Skywalker, and she's a Palpatine, and they're intertwined so deeply. It's literally the messaging of just that's the deal. Light and dark are intertwined, and ultimately your choice, to go back to Rey Skywalker, your choice is what balances it out or tips the scales.
Hot take.
So,
hot take. Do you think?
Do I think?
Do you think?
I try not to.
I mean,
my thoughts are mean to me.
Same. Do you think there's a theory in here somewhere that the Dyad is a side effect of Anakin's Force birth or Force conception? Because I had that idea, but I don't want to put it out in the world if it's not a good idea.
No.
Actually, you know what? No, you guys suffer with me.
Well, I don't think
it's a fun thing to think about.
Yeah. Like, well, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think it has to be like, fan accredited to be something you put out there. Like, I mean, some opinions should stay to yourself. Not you. I just mean in general. Like, some opinions should not be like uttered. You shouldn't speak that magic into existence. But
I have theories.
Yeah, you don't have to be well spoken or verified on Twitter to put out good opinions. Maybe I mean there's something to maybe the idea, like they gave birth to twins, right? And what's a dyad if not twins, and like everything.
It makes it weird if they kiss.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. But I don't see that dyadness in Luke and Leia, though.
No.
Not because, like, my opinion on the dyad and my interpretation of it is that it's that you have this manifestation of both, right?
Mm-hmm.
She is both light and dark. He is both light and dark. She struggles with the dark. He struggles with the light. Like, the poetry amongst them is what creates the dyad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that with Luke and Leia. So, like, for me, the first thing I think of that I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool because they gave birth to twins. And it's just like this idea of Anakin is this concentration of both light and dark. Not necessarily in balance, but he's this concentration of light and dark. And everything he passes on is light and dark.
Agreed.
But no, because Luke and Leia are both very light. I know they have their struggles, but for all intents and purposes, they got all of the light while their father stayed in the dark. So
the dark had to go somewhere.
I mean, like that's stuff you get into, right? When
It's
you
a
talk about
King
these
Piccolo
things.
situation.
Right, he distilled all the kami into his wife, uh, and created light babies.
He
Um,
yeeted an egg from his throat that
I,
was the light.
right now, I do think there's something. Again, I think the representation there is just the poetry again of Palpatine, Skywalker, light and dark being kind of intertwined.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that. I mean, we don't know what brings on a Dyad, so maybe
Eh,
something with Anakin. I mean, he is powerful. He was a ping on the Force scale, so maybe he
yeah.
had something to do with inciting that coming into existence. But
His power level is quite high.
right, but I think uh, if anything, again, it's about that intrinsically linked relationship and everything. Hence, why it sucks that you would kill that off. Um,
You so sick.
I like
But we get a
don't
fantastic scene before it
we
happens.
do, and don't get me wrong. I'm not using this as a reason to crap on the movie. Like films and stories are going to do things you don't like. Um, it happens. Like they killed Cliff Jumper in the Bumblebee movie. That's like, why would you kill such an integral character? Like you have
He's
all of these other ones.
definitely
You could kill Braun.
not just Bumblebee, but Red.
You could. No, he's important. He was played by Dwayne the Rock Johnson once. Like he's good. Like why would you kill that character? It makes no sense. Now you've ruined it for everyone because
Why'd
no
you put
one else
Polka
can
Dot
do it.
Man?
I know you don't like Cliff Jumper, but now no one else can do it. What if the next director's favorite character is Cliff Jumper? You have ruined it
John.
for him.
John, take a breath.
So there's always things to not like, even in movies you really like, because that is
Did you
still the best Transformers movie.
did you rewatch
I did
Bumblebee?
recently.
Yeah, I figured.
It still makes me mad. I watched this. It still upsets me that what a character I love and means something to me, and a character that just started making the right choice dies. Like
Mhm.
I have long said, and you can go back to many an episode, I never wanted him to die, but I always ended it with all my theories, with all my guesses and hopes. I always ended it with, but they're probably going to kill him because I pessimistically knew. No, I realistically. It's only pessimism if it's wrong. If it happens, it's realistic. Okay, I was realistic, and I was like, they're not going to want to write for a character that has to deal with consequences because that's too big brain for them. So they're just going to kill him. I knew it was going to happen, and it still upset me then. It upsets me now. I'm not okay.
I know.
But Force Ghost boyfriend. Let's just.
Force Ghost
You know what?
boyfriend.
All right, if Patrick Swayze can do it, then Ben
Oh,
Solo can do
my
it.
love.
My darling. Was a little bit of Kermit there, actually.
Eventually, eventually every George Lucas impression gets a little Kermit.
So, but and you mentioned the scene before that, and just moving on for the sake of not turning and devolving this.
Let's talk
completely.
about another one of the best scenes in Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go ahead and not take that.
Okay.
Which is Han Solo, not Force ghosting.
Oh, okay.
But
you rewound a little more than I was going to.
Well, yes.
We'll go.
We'll come
that's
back.
fine because I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we need to talk about it because it is a fantastic emotional scene that broke me.
Yeah.
It still breaks me when I watch it.
Yeah. This one and this was what like started and cemented my love of and relation to the character of Ben Solo was that scene in The Force Awakens, right?
Mhm.
And I love that it's so literal.
Yeah.
It's so literally a second chance, reliving a moment, something we all wish we could do.
Yeah.
Reliving a moment and making a different choice. And you know what's crazy is it's not like dangling something in front of you. It's not teasing you or making fun of that wish that you have that you could do something different if you had all the same cards. It's literally telling you that you can, right? Like my first reaction to that scene is to be angry because it's just like, how dare you tell me, like, you don't know me, you don't know my life, you don't know what I've gone through. I can't go back and make a second
Yeah.
chance. Like I can't do something different. But then again, why not? Now, can I relive that moment? No. Han even says it. No, she's gone. You can't go back and bring your mother back. But if you make that choice based on whether or not she comes back, you're making it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Right? If you make the choice to do the right thing just because of the circumstantial things, even important things like the love of your family and friends and whatnot, and what what good things it would bring, it's still not the right thing. Do it because it's the right thing,
Exactly. Because
right?
that's what you do.
And because you're here, because you're alive right now, you have an opportunity to choose. So choose. That like
Yeah.
yeah, no, he can't bring his father back. He can't bring his mother back. He can't do any of that differently, but he can do the next thing differently,
Yes.
right?
You can
So,
do the next right thing.
yeah. So an amazing, amazing, amazing choice to
Mm-hmm.
do that scene again. Uh, and I love the fan service and nod of, I know, right?
It
Like,
was so good.
and that's why I feel like that's more than a memory, because I want Ben to really know that his father knows.
Yeah.
He always knew the truth. I know you love me. You might not love me right now, and you might not be doing something that says you love me, but I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're going to know eventually. And sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes, we have to know for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so no one could make that choice for him. He had to make that choice. So
Exactly.
I kind of hijacked your point a
And
little bit.
no,
So
you said everything that I
you're
was going to say.
we'll say
'Cause it was
something
perfect.
else just so I don't feel bad.
No, it's okay. I can make another dumb theory if you want.
Okay.
Is that was not just a dream, it wasn't just a memory. It was a force projection from the force itself. Or
Right.
Leia.
Because
With
Han
living among the living
no,
force.
because Han's force sensitive.
Because Han is force sensitive. Shut up.
Everybody is technically. Like,
You're
did
force
you not
sensitive.
watch The Last Jedi, guys?
Right. Anyone can be Broom Boy.
Well, all right. Well, lead us into Leia, because I mean, you jokingly brought her up, but that's as integral to his redemption as Han's showing up was.
You want me to talk about another scene that just absolutely destroyed me
Well, because the
emotionally?
character's so important to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my reasons, but like, this is for a long time was your character,
Yeah.
and especially in recent films, I feel like she was. So, like, for her to get handled and to be a part of the story in
Yeah.
such a way, I'm sure had to be important for you.
It the beauty of her using the last of whatever she had to reach out to her son and to give him a second chance because there could be no one else to redeem Ben. And you could say, yes, he was redeemed by Rey, he was redeemed by Han, and he was redeemed by Luke. But most importantly, he was redeemed by Leia, who never gave up on him.
Right.
And that was a moment that just shattered my heart into a million pieces. Especially the scene that comes after it with Poe, which is some of the most important character work for Poe. And the Last Jedi did a lot of good work for that character. But
Oh yeah. Well, and their relationship too.
exactly, pushing him into a spot where he has to grow up and take control and to just do the right thing was such an important story move.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it made Poe a great character,
and
which he already was.
again, they planted the seeds. The resistance is reborn. Right. You
Mm-hmm.
see Poe, and you see behind him Leia.
Yeah,
When he's leading, they look to Leia, and she says, "No,
look at him.
right? What do you need me to do? He
Mm-hmm.
said the thing. Do it."
And Leia not only being confirmed as Force sensitive in The Last Jedi, but being a Jedi Master or a Force Master, whatever, in this movie is fantastic to me.
Oh
Because,
yeah.
yes, of course, Leia is a Jedi.
Well, and I appreciate that bump up to her
Yeah.
character. Like, it's not a hint, it's not a guess, or it's not off screen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she is Ray's teacher, and I had an interaction with someone, and we'll lead this into
Another
talking
great
about
hug.
Twitter stuff, um, where we talked about, or we kind of tweeted back and forth about some meaningful things, and Rey and Leia's relationship being one of those things, and
Yeah.
that she had a special and specific maternal bond and mentor relationship with Rey, and it's just that idea of everyone else, Luke, all of her friends, they all had a part to play of importance and everything, but ultimately the real deal came from Leia,
Yeah.
and that's so meaningful and important just in the sense that like Luke gets a lot of the glory and a lot of the legacy and a lot of the shine, uh, and I hate that it's just posthumously, but
Yeah.
I think still rightly deserved and earned, and I'd like to think, regardless, they would have taken that route of moving Leia forward, not just because she's force sensitive, but just because of the character that she is, that she would have that level of importance to the story. Not
Yeah.
just be the general, not just be the princess, but to be a master,
Exactly.
to be equally yoked with her brother. They are twins after all. Maybe a dyad. No, just
Mm,
so we asked, and I have to say, by far the biggest response we've gotten for one of these of, hey, what are some of your favorite things? We're going to talk about it. And so, just a quick breeze through, in no particular order. I'm just going to find certain ones and bring that up. That's why, if you see it, you should definitely share your opinions, because you never know, it might
share
get you
your love.
might get you on. Um, so, Anthony Shand, don't know if you're any relation to Finnick Shand, but maybe so.
Probably.
If so, can you get us a signature? That'd be great.
Please.
She's my favorite Disney princess. Um, Said everything, love it all. Very short and sweet, but
Agreed.
I agree. Uh, I choose Bulbasaur, who actually had a mention in, I think, our last one.
Man, I also choose Bulbasaur. That's my
Right?
favorite Pokemon.
Bulbasaur.
Oh, yeah.
Everything involving Ben's redemption. Yes,
Yes, agreed.
redemption and not death.
Hey,
Um,
agreed.
I'm spiraling. Um, Travis Wells said the way they integrated the old Leia footage and gave her a meaningful on-screen death.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't often get to so neatly, if I can say that, put to bed a character.
Literally.
But I do so appreciate that they were able to do it in the way they did. Um, not in some ridiculous sacrifice or something that made her out to be some, hero in the charge. Like the
No.
temptation to be like, oh, I'm gonna take out like 50 stormtroopers and then, like this idea of ending gloriously at battle. Like
Mm,
that's not glory, and that's definitely not Leia's character.
no.
This turning to her family and what that's the real deal, and so to handle it so well, I thought was a good deal. Uh, Jared, the Holly Jolly Jedi.
What's up, Jared?
Christmas is over. You
Okay.
stop, you
Jared from Nerd
pagan. Get that
Academy.
Christmas tree out of your thing.
I
So
don't think he has a Christmas tree
no,
in his name.
in his name, in his
Okay.
name. It's probably going to be changed after this episode comes out, and everybody's going to be like, "What the heck?"
Jared's been very busy.
But let it be known he was holly and jolly when he wrote this. Some incredible visuals, great fight choreography, costume design is, I can't say that word, and some of the family themes work really well when they do. We're a family friendly podcast.
The
we not
family friendly
we might not be
podcast.
family friendly. We might not be family, and we might not be friendly, but we are a family friendly podcast.
Are
Um,
we?
we try to be. I try to be a lot of things. Let's just put it that
You
way.
gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser.
And then just for the last one, we'll pick a long one for the sake of time. The Last Skywalker, actually, ironic name, said the rise of Skywalker is just the most fun of the saga. It's campy adventure film, and it didn't try to be anything more. It's also miraculous how they were able to weave Leia into the story,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm grateful they did, and didn't have her die in the opening crawl. Yeah,
Agreed.
off screen would not have been
No.
great. But yes, again, and actually, I think that was this who I talked to about. No, it was not, but I still did leave you a nice message, so hopefully you saw that. Anyway, so yes, a very beloved film by us and some.
Yeah.
And again, I was very honored and happy that so much love poured out on that tweet, and just in our interactions in general with that, because you know, uh, and that's really what like
Yeah.
changed the dynamic of going into this episode. Was I was like, wow, I didn't expect all this love. I actually didn't. Even the people that were only nitpicking certain, like, I like the action or I like the cinematography. It's just like,
And that's
okay,
fine.
cool. That's something you like. That's cool. That's what we want. Um, yeah, like people were even able just to get it down to little things or get it big, and I loved that. And considering we just came off of talking about the Last Jedi, and that still somehow is so volatile, it was very nice to have so many pleasant conversations and interactions about the Rise of Skywalker.
Agreed.
And so, yeah, if you're doing it right, Star Wars shouldn't be controversial.
No.
It shouldn't be headache-inducing. It shouldn't be frustrating. It should be fun. It
Agreed.
should be meaningful, and it should be good. And so, remember to like just keep Star Wars what it's about. And I think that's a big part of the sequel trilogy, uh, as a whole, especially the Last Jedi, but also here, where it's just that reminder of just like, keep it about the right things. You know, focus on the good things, and get the point right. Like,
Hmm.
even if the point is given in a way where it's just like, well, but I don't like that. The Empire Strikes Back had a cooler action scene. Okay, but
Yes.
the point of making the good and right choices just because they're the right things to do, and not because of anything that's come before you, and not because of your last name, not because of your affiliations, not because of anything else, but just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Do that.
You are who you choose to be.
Yeah, if you want to honor the maker's legacy, then do
Yeah.
that. Make good choices.
With great power comes great
There you
responsibility.
go. Now, you said it. Now you got to die.
Yay!
So yeah. So coming in under an hour. Plenty more we could talk about, but much like the Last Jedi, there'll be things we'll be cherry picking out of these amazing films to turn into episodes all in of themselves in the new year. And so, not the last time we'll talk about the Rise of Skywalker or any of these Star Warsy things. So if we missed anything you really want to talk about, or want us to talk about, let us know. If you've got things you love that we didn't. I mean, we didn't talk about Finn. I feel so bad. We
Oh
didn't
no,
talk
we
about the
didn't
other
talk about.
stormtroopers. We didn't talk
Oh
about Lando.
no!
Uh, it's.
Oh,
I feel bad, but
we got so caught up in the stuff that we
it's
love. We're
why
gonna have
we
to do another episode.
exactly. It's why we have a podcast, so we can talk endlessly about these things to the same
Yes.
few people that we appreciate for listening and being a part of the family and the conversation and all of that. We particularly love and appreciate our patrons. Thank you to Graham, Rebecca, Doug, Nick. You guys are awesome. Um, Not just because you give us money, but just because you choose to put up with us and support us for some reason. Um, and your support means the world to us. And so
Yes.
this is coming out just before the new year. So obviously, we want to hope everybody has a good holiday. And maybe you'll set resolutions, maybe you won't. But if we can all just choose to be
Yeah.
better people, I think 2022 has a shot at being a better year. Um, if you want things to be different, you've got to be different. So maybe try that.
New year, new me. My
Yeah.
resolution is 1080p.
Okay. That's high quality nowadays.
Thanks. It's
Sure.
4K.
And so yeah, and speaking of, the first thing we'll be doing in the new year, technically,
Speedman.
is talking about Spider-Man. It was supposed to happen for Christmas, and it didn't.
And then
Deal
Christmas
with it,
happened.
right? Like, you don't know my life. 476 hours, guys.
Jeez
Leave me
Louise.
alone. The fact that we did anything at Christmas amazes me, and it's all because we love you that I put up with you and do this, apparently.
You talking to me or you talking to them?
I'm talking to the world. But no, I love you. I love them. And we'll be back talking more nerdy things, Star Wars and otherwise, in the next episode. So,
Later, skaters.
yeah.